guy, any automotive journalist, what the best sports car experience could be, and they usually say something like they want a race car for the street. And lots of companies from Porsche and Ferrari to Ariel, BAC, Radical have tried to deliver on the race car for the street ethos. The problem is, of course, that while the fantasy of a race car for the street is amazing, the reality is not so good. Sector 111 has been preparing cars both for the track and street for a very long time, from Lotuses to Ariel Atoms and BAC Monos. And what they have learned is you don't really want a race car for the street. You want a street car that gives you the impressions of a race car, but still has some civility when you want it. It's got the looks, and it's got to be something you can actually really register for the road. Enter their new project, the Draken.
My name is Shanu Mapleton. We're here at Sector 111. Sector 111 is a sports car specialist who focuses on lightweight sports cars. We have been making race parts and aftermarket accessories for Lotuses for over 12 years. We're an Ariel Atom dealer. We also import and assemble BAC Mono, and we've developed now our own car called the Draken Spider. The Draken Spider is a two-seat chromoly tube chassis car with a mid-engine powertrain. Very lightweight, 2,000 pounds with a 430 horsepower V8.
Oh yes, this is a 2,000 pound chromoly tube frame chassis car with a fiberglass honeycomb mesh body, inboard suspension, Toyo R888 tires, HRE forged wheels.
The brakes on the Draken are designed for us by one of our braking partners, Girodisc. And they're actually a two-piece rotor, very similar design to rotors that we've been selling to the Lotus community for over 10 years. So the suspension's pretty novel. It's a pushrod bell crank setup with inboard coilovers. The bell cranks actually have a patent-pending design from Palatov Motorsport. They're super compliant because the progressive rate that was designed into the bell crank. So it seems awfully light, but you'll see, because of the progressive nature of the bell crank and the design, the car is actually dead flat when you drive it. It doesn't squat, it doesn't pitch, it doesn't sway.
The transmission is a 6-speed Getrag, which you might recognize as the gearbox used in pretty much every modern 911. It has custom longer gear ratios to make better use of the mid-range torque you get from the LS3.
The Draken starts at 100 grand, but that's pretty well equipped. Ariel Atoms start at about $70,000 and can go up to 100 grand or so. The BAC Monos are now starting at $230,000. So it kind of slots in between those two cars.
If you've ever driven a race car for the street, your primary complaint is probably that it's very, very stiff. Not the Draken.
The most surprising thing about this car for everyone who's driven it has been honestly the ride compliance. It is really a car that handles yet doesn't beat you up. Well, this car definitely is less frantic than the other cars, and in fact, yes, you could take road trips in this car. You know, the windshield, the bodywork, the ride compliancy, those all deliver, frankly, a much more civil driving experience. But when you push the car and you're going for it, 8/10, 9/10, it still requires that you're focused because everything's very, very direct.
When you put your foot in it, you've got about the same power to weight ratio of a Bugatti Veyron, except because it's so light and so sticky and with such good balance, it gets around corners like an Ariel Atom. Now, I've driven an Ariel Atom and they are very, very cool. But the thing is, with any 4-cylinder powered sports car, you really have two options: slow and gutless, or full-on gonzo, manic, psycho, death kill mode.
This car is one of those visceral cars that you want to drive. You are part of the action. You literally feel like your hands are on the controls of this car. It truly gives you a Formula car, elemental experience. It holds the road. It has so much grip. It has so much acceleration. It has such good brakes. It's a car that people who love to drive are going to go gaga over. I mean, it really is that pure elemental car.
You drive something like this and you go, how is this the first one? How has nobody figured out that a 2,000-pound mid-engine car with an LS is the answer to all of life's problems?
It's hard to properly convey through video how much the Draken feels like a real car and quite how important that is. With an overbuilt cage, a relatively normal steering ratio, and an engine that puts out real usable torque, Draken feels just as powerful tooling around town as it does flat out. Rarely do we come across a low-volume car that throws minimalist performance and race car speed right in your face while asking virtually nothing in return. It's 50 state legal, smog exempt, and stupidly quick. Add wings, front and rear, and I'd call it perfect. John Player Special, please.